let's pivot because the number one team in the country went down today, guys. Houston was up 44-29 with 17 minutes left on the clock, playing at home in front of the Fertitta Center, packed with 7,000 people. It was loud in there. It was raucous in there. They had one of those setups where like every other section had a different color t-shirt. It looked awesome. It looked electric. It looked like a great college basketball environment. And then Alabama, playing 4 freshmen down the stretch, came all the way back against one of the best defensive teams in the country, one of the toughest teams in the country, and one of the most difficult environments that you can play in college basketball, and found a way to win. McCall, I don't know if there is a more impressive 15-minute stretch than Alabama outscoring Houston on the road 42-21 over the course of a 15-minute run in the second half. What do you make of this Alabama team after that win?
Yeah, I mean, I think too, and I know we're going to get into the interview here in a second, but like how Alabama handled, you're coming into the game, they're averaging 80 plus. I think they were like 9th in the country in scoring coming into the game. And all of a sudden you look up the scoreboard at the under 12 timeout and there's 17 total points on the board. So it's a complete rock fight, right? So having your team stay composed and focused, even when the fact that, hey, we're going up against a really, really good defensive team. And what I thought happened throughout the course of the game was if you look at how Houston was guarding pick and rolls to start the game and just how aggressive they were, and you could see the corners were open for Alabama because that's where they were tagging from. Houston was tagging off the corners on pick and roll, so the corners were open. The problem was when you're coming off those ball screens and the length and athleticism with Houston's fives and you're trying to make that pass to the corner, it's impossible. But the commentators kept saying it too. Hey, listen, Alabama has, 11 turnovers, whatever it was in the first half. And oh, by the way, they're only down 1. So if they can figure out how to take care of the basketball in the second half and make a couple free throws, they're going to be okay. But just the resilience that those kids showed when it was a complete slugfest. And hey, normally we're an offense that clicks on all cylinders. We're 9th in the country in scoring. We get over 83 points a game. To just stay composed throughout the course, that to me was the most impressive thing. They just stayed composed in the middle of that dogfight and found a way to get a hell of a win.
Can I give you the most impressive thing? It's nothing any of us saw, but I talked to a couple people after the game that saw Brandon Miller's face as he walked off the court and as he walked out of the locker room. Brandon Miller is a high lottery pick, probably. He went 0 for 8 from the field today. I've seen players that won big games that had shitty individual performances walk off the court like this, with their head down, not happy. Brandon Miller was ecstatic, from what I was told by multiple people who saw him after the court. Ecstatic, smiling, happy. Javon Quinterly, a veteran, didn't play a minute in the second half. He was telling the coaches, don't put me in. Keep Jaden Bradley in because he's playing so well right now. That to me is a complete 180 from last year's Alabama team and a key reason why I believe this Crimson Tide team can go deep. Chemistry. They've got talent. They have it. They're just young. And to have that type of chemistry and Brandon Miller being that mature is huge for me.
Yeah, well, they had that issue last year. It was something that Nate Oates brought up every time I talked to him this offseason. It's something that I remember talking with him after the 2021 season when they were top 3 in the nation defensively, number 2 seed, made it to the Sweet 16 and lost on the thrilling overtime on that run that UCLA made to the national title game. And they had guys on that team that would sacrifice. Their best player was Herb Jones. And Herb Jones was a guy that didn't give a shit about like his numbers. He didn't give a shit about stats. All he cared about was W's, right? And I think if you look at this team, you have a lot of guys. This is going to be a cliche, Matt, but you have a lot of guys that care about the name on the front of the jersey and don't care about the name on the back of the jersey. And Nate will touch on this in the interview, but you've coached for a long time. What does that provide? Like, is there like what does that change when you have guys that buy in like that on your roster?
Well, that everyone, like every single press conference you ever watch when a coach gets a job says culture. We're going to have the right culture. We're going to have these core values and we're going to put these core values up on the wall. Well, the core values that you put up on the wall mean nothing unless every single person in your organization lives and breathes by them. And to me, when the situations that Goodman just explained, that's all culture. That's how you win, and that's how you win big. That's how you are down in a slug fight on the road and find a way to come back and win, because your quote unquote superstars are on the bench or they're not having
Matt, you
as
saw
good of
this
a game.
with Al Horford. Matt, you saw this as a young, right? You saw this with Al Horford, did you not, at Florida?
I saw it more. I mean, Al was always Mr. Steady, but I saw it more at Florida with Joe Kim.
Yeah.
In the year that he came back, when he shouldn't have left, because we wouldn't have gone back to back, but he could have left and been the number 1 draft pick. And we're in the national championship game in the second year. And now he's no longer the number 1 draft pick. We're playing against the number 1 draft pick in Greg Oden. And the defensive assignment was, okay, who has to stay on the floor for us here in this game? And Joe Kim's like, I'll guard Oden. Give me Oden, knowing that he was probably going to get in foul trouble. And he's standing there on the bench and cheering. And the year before, he's the most outstanding player in the Final Four. That's why you win. That is culture. So when you hear all these coaches say, culture, this is our culture, this is our core values. If everyone that's not in that organization doesn't live and breathe it every day, then it means nothing. It means nothing. And to see those guys tonight respond that way, and Javon Quinley's on the bench, and he looks like a coach.
Yes.
He's cheering and encouraging and high-fiving. When you've created that, and there's going to be adversity and there's going to be challenges when they get into league play, and there'll be a bump in the road here or there. But, man, if they can maintain that, I think the sky's the limit for Alabama. I mean, I really do. I mean, I just think there's so much parity. I think UConn, Rob, is terrific. Okay, so I'm not taking anything away from them.
We have to do UConn
I'm
today.
not taking it. But
look, you guys are hyping this Alabama team up right now. Who beat them by 15?
That's right. That's my point.
I was
I'm
there,
saying,
no doubt. They beat them.
there's so much parity. I mean, there's, I don't know, 10, 11 teams that you could say could be legit.
So let me ask
Four
you guys
contenders.
this. We've talked a lot about like SEC rankings and who's the best and who's not. Like, are you right now saying that you think Alabama is the best team in the SEC? Goodman, you go first. Matt, you go next.
No, I'm saying there is no best team right now in the SEC. It's too early to tell. I think Alabama's got a high upside. Arkansas without Brazil, I don't know what they're going to be. I need to see them a little bit more. I still like Kentucky down the road, but they haven't. Again, they struggled today against Yale. They haven't looked the part yet, but I haven't given up on Kentucky. Tennessee, I think, might be a half a step back from those teams. But yeah, it's too early to tell with the SEC right now.
It's going to be a hell of a league race. McCall, where do you sit?
I think it's Alabama and Arkansas. I think Tennessee, those are the best 3 right now. I think Kentucky, like I talked about the other night on the field, is 68. I think it's just too early to tell on them. They seem to just find a way to peak in late January, early February. LSU, Matt McMahon, heck of a win today. They beat Wake Forest. I mean, they haven't played the best of schedules, but they've won all the games they're supposed to win. And then they, beat a Power 5 in Wake Forest today. So where do they end up? But I think the top is really, really good.
Weren't they down by 20 in the first half?
They were down.
was down 20, right?
Yeah, came back and won.
There you go.
I think the top is really good. I think the middle to the bottom is not great for the SEC. But I really think it's a 3-headed race right now in Alabama, Arkansas, and Tennessee, and then we'll see where Kentucky.
I can't believe you're writing off Kentucky. Come on.
I'm not writing. I just said they peak at the end of January. The beginning of February. I'm not writing them off at all.
I would, if I had to say right now, I think honestly, I think it's the other 3, Arkansas, Alabama, and Tennessee, and Kentucky's probably 4th in that group. If you want to tell me who the ceiling is, I think you kind of flip it, right? I think Arkansas and Alabama probably have the highest ceiling. I think Kentucky's right there with them. I'd have them 3rd. I'm not going to argue with you if you have any of them, whatever order you want, top 3. And I think the highest ceiling is probably like Tennessee's probably 4th, but I think all 4 of those teams will be top 15 teams when it's all said and done. You know who would not tell us who he thought was a Alabama, who he thought was a top 10 team? Nate Oates. He did not answer the question Goodman put to him on where he would rank Alabama this season. Let's get into that interview with Nate now. It was entertaining, to say the least.